Diary of a Gothic Girl, Superpowers of a Dark Teenager, Kids' Adventure Stories, written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. She is a nurse, she can teleport, she is a Gothic, and she goes to rock concerts. Meet Layla, a young woman with Ender powers and Ender attitudes. She complains a lot, doesn't have an easy life, and ends up wondering what it's all good for. But then she meets Ryan, a guy with similar interests and strange habits. She seems in heaven, finally someone who understands her, but things aren't as simple as they seem at first. Find out what Layla has to say about her own adventures by listening to this deviant diary. Entry 1. The Hospital. My name is Layla. I was named after some Greek goddess or something. I'm not sure who, but then again, I don't really care about Greek mythology. My name is fine, it's short and to the point. Perhaps it typifies me, since I am a little different from the average girl here. My life came to a turning point not too long ago. I kept a journal and wrote down the most significant days in that time period. Ready for a roller coaster lifestyle? I am warning you, it's not all that peachy. My life was a mess, but looking back, it was all for the best. I wouldn't have it any other way, even if I say so myself. You see, I was 21 years old. I worked at the hospital. I had been doing so for almost a year. It was okay. Not always fun, but still, okay. And hey, it paid the bills. It paid for the things I liked to do, and it paid well. Being a nurse was pretty nice. However, there were times when things went completely wrong, and there was nothing I could do about it. I had a special ability. I could teleport. This gave me a lot of freedom, but it was also limited. I could only teleport to an area I could see in front of me, so not halfway across the globe or something. I was able to focus and appear in a different place in my immediate environment, and I could take things or people with me, which came in extremely handy. But it wasn't until later that it served me so well. At work I wore scrubs, but when I was in public, people stared at me and thought I was weird. I will tell you more about it later, but let it suffice to say that I had big blue eyes, purple hair, and that I wore a black jacket with a hoodie and tall boots with fluffy insides. Doesn't that already tell you what kind of a freak I am? Maybe not. Okay, but I often felt people were judging me. Like I said, more about that later. Let me tell you about one of those times that I felt powerless. It was early. I hadn't had the chance to sleep in, but it didn't bother me. I was ready for a fresh start. However, that fresh start was about to be crushed by a helpless woman who was brought into the hospital that very morning. Being a nurse, I knew all kinds of things about medicine, about taking care of the sick, treatments, hospital procedures, and much more. It was just part of the job. When a patient is in need, it helps a lot to know what you're doing, so sometimes I would even look up things at home on the same evenings I saw patients suffer diseases or ailments that I didn't know much about. On this day, an old woman was brought in who had been suffering from heart diseases for years. Her days were numbered. Every doctor told me that. Nobody was certain if she would even make it to the next day. Still, I felt like I might have been able to save her. Silly me. I walked to her room and talked to her. "What is your name?" she asked. "I'm Layla. What is yours?" "Samantha. Thank you for asking. How old are you, Layla?" "I am 21. "Such a wonderful age. The possibilities are endless and the world is your playground. I can tell that you care about people. You have that aura. You certainly give me that impression." "It's just part of the job to take care of you," I said. "Please give me your arm," I said, as I had a needle ready to take a blood sample. "Yes, it very well may be," she agreed. "But I think there is more to it. Deep down inside of you, I can see a light. You have a positive attitude. I can tell." "Ha! Not really. I complain all the time. Didn't you notice?" "Yes, but you probably just have a hard time at the moment. Are your parents aware of your circumstances?" "Not really," I responded. "It's complicated." "Well, there you go. I am not blaming you for the occasional expression of frustration. Just keep your chin up. Things will get better, I promise." Thanks, I'll try to remember that. Besides, did you know that Layla mothered several important deities in the Greek mythology? She stood there at the beginning of creation. In the same way, you are taking care of these poor sick people in the hospital. And if nothing else, that makes you special, Layla. Oh, I didn't know that. I never read mythology. But thank you for your kind words anyway. I have to go. The doctor will be here soon. See you later, Layla. Thanks again for your help. I left the room. Wow, what a sweet old lady. I loved her already, even though I hardly knew her. She was one of a kind. Not much later, the doctor called in several nurses, including me. He needed immediate help. I entered the room and saw Samantha suffering. She was not feeling well at all. I wasn't sure what was going on. She is having a heart attack, one of the other nurses said. Here, hold this. The doctor needs help carrying her into the emergency room. She handed me a tube and a cloth. The others were busy riding the bed into the hallway. And detaching several instruments and measuring devices. It all happened so fast. I looked at Samantha, and I felt sorry for her. It was the last time I saw her. Entry 2. Pains, Patience, Patience. Were things really going to get better? Was Samantha right? I wanted to think so, especially since she passed away briefly after her kind words and positive affirmations. I hoped so, because her remarks were exactly the sort of pep talk I needed the next day. If only I would have kept that in mind, I wouldn't have been so stressed out, but now I think it all happened for a reason. It really did. As I was saying, that day I really needed the pep talk, but I didn't think of it. I was caught up in the moment. I was at the children's department, and hey, usually I get along with kids just fine, but this time they were getting on my last nerve. One of the 5-year-old boys was pretty sick. He was coughing all day, and even though I had told him 1,000,000 times to cover his mouth, he still disobeyed. I told you just like 5 minutes ago to cover your mouth, I said. Oops, excuse me, Purple Puzzle, he said with some kind of evil grin on his face. My name is Layla. I already told you that. Now get back under the covers. Why was he being this way? Didn't his parents raise him the right way? Didn't they teach him any manners? So yeah, I didn't like the boy. And whether or not it was his fault that he was being such a brat, I still didn't make any difference because to me it was the most irritating thing ever. But that wasn't all. Next to the boy was a girl, in a different bed of course, of similar age. And what was up with this kiddo? She had peed the bed 4 times that day. Lucky for me, it comes with the job. I was the winner and had to change her dirty sheets every time. Each time she peed her bed, she would cry for more than a half hour, whining about this or that. It's pretty sad when a child pees the bed like that, and I felt bad for her. I really did. Poor kid didn't learn to control her bladder yet, or perhaps she was suffering from some kind of anxiety that prevented her from running to the bathroom in time. Whatever the reason was, and I didn't mean to be judgmental, it still didn't make my job easier. You know how they say that stress doesn't just come from one big bad event in your life, but from a bunch of little ones adding up to an overload of annoyances? Well, this was one of those days, because not only did I have to deal with these two, who were a handful by themselves, but I was also constantly exposed to the nagging comments of my superior. Nancy, a nurse who had just been promoted and had received a raise, felt like she now had the right and authority to antagonize me. "Did you fill out those reports I asked you to?" she asked when I carried out a few urinated sheets. "No, not yet. I've been pretty busy," I answered. "Don't give me that. You know they are supposed to be in by 9 o'clock a.m. every day." I know. I just didn't get around to it yet. And of course, since I was so busy that morning, I didn't get around to it until an hour after 9. When I filled them out and handed them to Nancy, I had to endure an entire lecture about responsibility, punctuality, maturity, and a bunch of other nonsense. She was very condescending, and I was fed up with her. So you can understand why I snapped that morning. 1. Coughing little brat who called me names. 2. girl who peed her bed and cried at every turn, and 3, evil tyrant of a nurse who thought she was the world because she could now order me around. My patience was almost gone. There was only this much left. Imagine me holding my thumb and pointing finger an inch away from each other. Yes, only an inch. I was almost out. When you give all morning and you get nothing back but complaining patients and harassing superiors, there comes a moment that you just can't take it anymore. That moment came when the boy's mother came in. I snapped. Control? Pfft, gone. I had none. She already had a hostile attitude when she walked through the door. I'm pretty good at sensing those kinds of things. She smelled like cigarettes and was wearing 2 golden earrings, a leopard skin top, and some tight jeans with a belt that looked way too big for her size. She sat down and looked at the boy. "How is it?" she asked. "I still feel a little sick, Mom." I was standing right next to him and felt the spit of his cough on my hand. "I asked you before and I'm asking you again. Could you please cover your mouth when you cough?" I said. Then Mama Bear came out. "Excuse you," she said. "Just who do you think you are, ordering my little boy around like that?" "Madam, this is a hospital, and we can all avoid some illnesses if we just keep some simple rules, like covering our mouths when we cough." "I don't care where we are. You don't talk to him that way. And furthermore, don't you think you should get him a glass of water instead of criticizing him? Come on, go fetch some water, purple parrot." This was it. Rage was boiling underneath my skin. I couldn't hold it anymore. It came out. "Well, if you were a little respectful towards people yourself, maybe your little boy wouldn't be such an irritating brat," I yelled back. Bad timing, because that was the precise moment the doctor came into the room. "Perhaps you need to take a day off," he suggested. "I'm fine," I said. "No, you are not fine. Go home. Come back tomorrow with a different attitude. Somebody else will cover for you." I didn't say another word. I threw the cloth I was holding on the floor and looked at him angrily. Entry 3. Nightlife. The fun thing about being able to teleport was that I never had to go anywhere by public transportation. I just teleported from one end of the street to the next, and to the next, etc. I usually did it fast enough so that people wouldn't notice my superpowers. Imagine that becoming public. It would wreak some havoc. Nightlife was mostly for the weekends, but now that I was off a day early, I decided to go to the nightclubs. I had a lot of friends there, and although I never gave in when they pressured me to drink alcohol, I still had a fun time. Yeah, my mom had taught me to stay away from that stuff, and as a nurse, I would never touch a glass of wine or beer, let alone those filthy cigarettes. I was living healthily, free from addictions. I kind of dressed like a Gothic with all the purple and black, which was strange to some, but that was how I felt more like myself, and that is how I expressed my feelings. I just loved music and dancing and partying, so most times I would let off steam in the nightclubs. Sometimes I went to house parties, sometimes to reggae clubs, although they always stunk, but most times I felt at home in the rock cafes. Rock music was the best. I loved the guitars, the drums, the singers' voices, and the rebellious atmosphere of the fans. I had already attended performances of my favorite bands, and when I had saved up enough money, I bought an electric guitar myself. I still had a lot to learn, which I found out soon enough, but it was one of my passions nonetheless. The day I got sent home early, I felt like taking myself into a different world and jump up and down in a small club where amateurish artists would express their feelings and show off their talents. It was 11:00 p.m., which wasn't very late for the usual visitors. I was a little sleepy, but I needed the break. In the middle of the city, I walked through the alleys and stopped at one of my favorite places called Rock On. I showed my identity card to let the bouncer know I was the proper age, and I went inside. "Hey, Layla," a familiar voice said. I turned around. It was Robert, one of my hard rock friends. It had been a while since I had last seen him, but I remember jumping up and down when Society Stinks played the best songs of their album in this same cafe. Robert was tall, full of tattoos and piercings, and pretty witty for someone who had such low grades in school. Hi, Robert. How have you been? Oh, just hanging out, doing stuff. How about you? I'm usually kind of busy at the hospital, but today was bad. I snapped at a trashy woman who stood up for her kid's bad behavior. I hate stuff like that, he said. Anyway, what are you up to this evening? Just going to listen to Dark and Dreary. They're supposed to come here, and they rock at playing those guitar solos. Sounds good. I think I'll stick around, I said. Hey, something else, and don't tell this to anyone, but I got some really good stuff if you're interested, he suddenly said, completely off topic. Stuff? What are you talking about? Come with me. I will show you. Without enough suspicion, I followed his lead and went around the back of the Rock Cafe. There he pulled me a little closer, not violently, but still somewhat roughly and discreetly, and showed me what was in his pocket. Drugs? I asked. Oh, no, forget it. I am not into that. Oh, come on, he said. It's great stuff. He sniffled, and that was the moment when I looked into his eyes a little bit more closely. You could see it. He had been using it. He wasn't all there. Robert, it's not my business, but I highly recommend you stop using this junk. Don't you know what this can do to your body, let alone your mind? It's not that bad, he insisted. Besides, everybody is doing it. You might as well join us and have some fun. I'm not going to destroy my life, I said as I walked away. Great. Another friend who went down the path of darkness. Maybe my personal interests weren't driving me into the hands of people in the most sophisticated circles. I didn't stick around for long that night. Inside, I listened to a couple of songs from the band, but after that, I went home, somewhat disgusted with the atmosphere, and wondering if this is really where I wanted to be. Entry 4. Messed up. Did I mention that I am an orphan? Well, now you know. If you have lost a parent, or both of them, then you know how it feels. It's hard. It's a harsh reality you have to face and accept as part of your life. And although I am convinced that I did, it still left a big emotional gap in my heart. I felt like I was lacking something. Perhaps I didn't receive enough attention or love or something else. My parents died in a car accident. I still remember how it happened. A sudden police call, my cell phone that didn't recognize the number, a shock, and a discovery in the hospital that there was nothing I could do to save them. The officers later told me it had already been too late anyway. A drunk driver had hit my parents' car and caused them to bleed internally, so much that a few hours later they died in front of my eyes. Maybe this is why I hate drinking. Maybe it's why I went into nursing. But either way, I felt alone. That night, let's jump back to the time I was released from the hospital early and offered drugs by who I assumed to be my friend. I felt lost. I was lonely and desperate. I missed my parents and lacked the self-esteem I needed to carry me through the night. So I decided to just teleport a little bit. I went from the corner of the street to the rooftop of a building to a tree branch to an industrial territory. Then I gave up. I was fine here. I looked at the giant tower and the buildings around it that were busy producing all kinds of chemicals. The sky was gray, the evening was gloomy. I hated life. Was it really going to get better? Samantha, the deceased lady, told me it was going to be just yesterday, but then she died. How did her life get any better? By dying? What was the purpose of this life anyway? All these questions were plaguing my mind. Entry 5. The Boy. And that is where I met him, at the industrial terrain. Weird, isn't it? I was meant to be there. He came from a distance with his backpack hanging on one shoulder and his jacket on the other. He had short brown hair and his eyes were as blue as mine. He was very handsome. "Hi," he said when he saw me. "What is a girl like you doing out here on her own?" "I'm just chilling," I said, trying to act all cool. "Really? But why would you do that in a boring place like this?" "Oh, I don't know. What is your name? My name is Layla." "Pleased to meet you. My name is Ryan." I could tell by his demeanor that he liked me a little, and I was going to use it to my advantage, so I came a little closer and asked him, hitting him softly and flirtatiously on his shoulder, So what are you doing out here then? Oh, I work here. I work night shifts sometimes. That's why I'm so late. Let me ask you something, Layla. How old are you? I'm 21, I said, trying to appear taller than I was. And you, Ryan? I'm 24 and I am bored. Do you want to get something to drink? I never wanted to say yes more than at that time, but because I was a little nervous, I could only stutter, Yeah, uh-huh. He laughed. That means yes, doesn't it? He asked. Yes, it does mean yes. The answer is yes. I would love to get something to drink with you. He could tell that I was a little fidgety. Why couldn't I just hide it? Silly me. Then he looked around and noticed I didn't have a vehicle of any kind. How did you get here? He asked. Don't tell me you walked all the way over here. The city is about 5 miles away. I didn't want to tell him about my superpowers right away, so I needed a way to talk myself out of this one. I thought and noticed he got a little anxious to hear my answer. Then I had it. My uncle dropped me off, I said. He was leaving because he had to do something in the city, but he said he would be back within an hour. Ryan smiled again. You're a little strange, he said. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound very promising. What did he mean by that? Was it my purple hair, the hoodie? I knew I should have taken it off. Now he was going to ditch me because I didn't show the top of my head. Why didn't I think about that earlier? Then he interrupted my train of thoughts and said, I like it. I was never into the regular girls anyway. Phew. So how about it? He continued. Are you willing to trust me and hold on to my waist? What? I asked. What was he talking about? He walked towards a motorcycle, opened up the compartment underneath the seat, and tossed me a helmet. Aha! He wanted me to join him on a motorcycle ride. Nice. Of course, I said. He sat on his motorcycle and started the engine. I jumped on the back, right behind him, and held on tightly. We took off and arrived at the city within a few minutes. In the process, I felt like I was in heaven, holding on to my handsome guy. The weeks after that were just amazing. I mean, where should I start? We went to movies, restaurants, rock cafes, nightclubs, and bowling alleys. Sometimes we just had a nice time staying together in the park and talking about life. He commented that he liked my alternative hair color and my odd way of looking at society. We just clicked. At those moments, I didn't think my life could get any better. The best part about it was that he was so sweet and respectful. He never took the relationship farther than I wanted to. He always was a gentleman, opening doors for me and kissing my hand at ballroom dances. One time, he organized a surprise candlelight dinner in his backyard. It looked like a sloppy dish he had just put together quickly after coming home late from work, but I loved the thought, and I started loving him. Entry 6. Severe Issues. Like I mentioned, the past few weeks have been amazing, but today was not. I went to Ryan's house as usual and discovered his parents there. Ryan didn't look like he was in a good mood, and immediately all kinds of connotations were formed in my brain as to why. Was it something I had said? Was it the way I looked? Did he fall in love with someone else? What is wrong? I asked with a sad face. You look upset. Let's step into the other room for a moment, he answered. My parents think our relationship is wrong for me, he said after we closed the door in the other room. Why would they say that? They say you are riffraff from the street, that you are a bad influence on me. But why? You don't think I am wrong for you, do you? No, it's not that. I don't know what their problem is, but I wanted you to know before I would blow up in their faces. Okay, I am right behind you, I said, a little scared. Just watch your words, okay? I will, but I want to say what needs to be said, he said, after which he opened the door again. A blustery debate followed. I listened carefully, but I didn't have the guts or willpower to speak up. Besides, I didn't think it was my fight. If Ryan had decided to stay with me, I wasn't going to come in between him and his parents. I was proud of him standing up for himself the way he did, but it grieved me that they were arguing so much. His parents said I hadn't proven myself, hadn't finished college, and was on the path to misery, pointing at the weird way I dressed and my purple hair. Ryan defended me, saying that he had never met such a caring, loving girl before, and that I accomplished a lot for someone who lost her parents and worked so hard in the nursing field. Still, his parents were not content. They didn't approve of me. I almost made the mistake of trying to please them or prove myself to them. But after I thought about it for a few minutes, I concluded that it wouldn't make any difference. They were going to dislike me no matter what I did. Perhaps time could heal their cold hearts and open their minds, but at that time, I just didn't know how long that would take. The discussion ended with Ryan being angry at them. His last words were, "Well, then I am out of here. Maybe we should not contact each other for a while until you accept my girlfriend for who she is." He stormed out. I went after him. "Where are you going?" I asked. "I just need to be alone for a little while." "Can I come along?" I asked. "I love you, Layla, but I just need to cool off. So give me a half hour and I will be back with a happy attitude and a calm mind." I accepted his wishes, but I also had a hunch, a feeling that something bad would happen. Call it female intuition, divine intervention, or just fate. I don't care, but whatever it was real. I felt it. Then I saw his helmet on the sidewalk. Oh no, he forgot to put on his helmet! This could be dangerous. I had to go after him. Entry 7. Accident. I just knew it. It was bound to happen. Ryan was riding his motorcycle in anger, paying less attention to the traffic rules and lights, while yammering about his stubborn parents. I didn't trust it. And although I trusted him, I realized his judgment was clouded. He didn't know exactly what he was doing. He was just upset. So I followed him. He didn't know that I did, but I thought it was important, and later I would be glad that I did. He rode his motorbike for 5 or 6 blocks. I shadowed his travels as well as I could, teleporting from one end of the street to the other and to the next block and so on. Some people looked surprised, to understate it a little, but I didn't care if something weird was unfolding before their eyes. I was going to protect my beloved boyfriend, and that was it. He rode around the corner. I still remember the exact moment it happened because it felt like the whole world was going in slow motion. I saw it before it occurred, saw it when it did, and repeated it in my mind over and over again after it had already taken place. A large semi-truck was just backing up slowly. The driver didn't see Ryan, nor did Ryan pay enough attention to his surroundings. With great speed, he crashed into the corner of the truck. His motorcycle got stuck, and Ryan hit the truck with his leg, which scraped the surface of his pants and skin. He flew through the air and was about to land headfirst on the pavement. I teleported as fast as I could and suddenly stood at the place he was about to fall. "Gotcha!" I said as I caught him. "Layla?" he asked. "How did you get here?" "I have a confession to make, Ryan. I am an Ender Woman, which means I have the special ability to teleport." What did you just say?" An entire explanation followed, including the one why I was at the industrial terrain by myself and didn't have a means of transportation. We talked and talked until the ambulances arrived and put him on a stretcher. Then they took us to the hospital. Entry 8. Healing. I sat there by his bedside, holding his hand and telling him that it was going to be okay. "I am sure it will be, knowing that you are a nurse and you are well educated when it comes to the human body." "Yes, the doctors say your leg will be just fine." He thanked me for coming to the rescue and apologized for his stupidity. Then his parents came in. They looked at me with tears in their eyes for a moment and stepped forward. One by one, they embraced me like a daughter. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there," realizing that he didn't have a helmet and was about to fall headfirst on the pavement, Ryan's dad said. "And I don't know how you got there so fast, but just know that we are indebted to you. We owe you, and we love you. We are sorry for our condemning opinions, and we ask for your forgiveness." "It's okay," I said. "I know I am a little odd, but I mean well, and as you can see, your son is happy with me. And that is what matters most, isn't it?" They agreed. It was a fantastic day, despite the fact that the motorcycle ended up on the scrap heap. A life was saved, an almost family member was accepted, and everyone was happy. I knew for sure now, one great purpose I still had in life was to serve others and help the world become a better place by helping others. My superpowers had already aided me in saving a life, and more could follow in the future. When I married Ryan a few years later, I also knew that my ability to teleport wasn't some random coincidence. It was meant to be. It was the only way I was able to save my future husband at the time. Samantha was right. My life had definitely become better. And my special power was a gift, but my gift to love those around and to care about others was just as special. The end.